Hey guys, Todd from zeotag.com here, and today's episode we are breaking down the 4 social secrets that are holding your videos back from getting more engagement and stopping you from building a community around your content that will help your business grow. I have Kami here from smartsocialsecrets.com who's going to break down those 4 secrets so that you can help better reach your audience, engage with them, and get them to drive action through the videos and all the content that you're creating and promoting online through your website and social media channels. So, without further ado, here's today's episode with Kami. Hey guys, Kami, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you here today because you have such an abundance of knowledge and experience and value to give everybody from a lot of different angles. You know, you have a background in, you host a great local event for social media marketers. You run an agency and you've had this experience in the PR and social world for, a very long time. You're a seasoned veteran. And, you have a great podcast that I never miss an episode of, Communities That Convert, with Madeline Sklar, our friend. And you now have this new Smart Social Secrets that's coming out that everybody should go check out, smartsocialsecrets.com. And that's what we'll be talking about today. So can you just give us a little, 90-second background on who you are in the context of our conversation, and we can start kicking things off?
Absolutely. So in 2005 or so, I started doing social media, which back then was blogs, right? So way back in 2005. And really, I found myself talking to an empty room, if you will. So I started blogging and I felt like nobody was listening to me. I felt like I was alone in the world, and I just come from Washington, D.C. to Texas. So I also didn't have any real life friends, people that were, so I felt like I was really isolated at that point in time. In fact, there was this little barn swallow that built a nest outside of my window in my apartment. And I think she and I became best friends that spring. But I was writing my heart out and sharing the best stuff that I knew. I'd had about 8 or 9 years of experience by that point as a spokesperson for a national industry association. I mean, I'd done crisis community, I'd done all this stuff, and I felt like I had so much to share, but like no one was listening. So what I started to do is I went out.
That's a common thing for people too, and that's a good thing that everyone knows. And look, like we just as we're getting on, I said, like, I'm considering this season 0 of the Zeotag show because you just got to take action and get out there and start putting your message out, right? So I love that that's part of your journey here, and everybody should know that when you get started and it's quiet, like, that's okay. Keep doing the work, and then what happened after that?
Yeah, so that's really the key, right? So after that, I started to realize, obviously, that other people were also out there blogging about. I was blogging about social media and the intersection between social media and public relations, because that was what I knew. And as I learned, what I would teach, what I'd learned as I went along. But I went and I found other people like that, and I started to hang out on their blogs and leave comments. And I don't mean like, "Hi, great thing." Yeah. I would leave comments that were like in depth and talked about what they were talking about and added to the conversation. That was really important part of it. And I did that over and over and over again. And it took about 3 months, and I kept doing it. My goal was 5 comments per week, like that, real meaty comments. Yeah. And by the way, that still works. And so going out there and leaving those 5 comments every week, and pretty soon it snowballed. And before I knew it, I was interacting with influencers from around the globe. Some of my articles were picked up by an author that was out in California, and then other people picked that up. And pretty soon people knew who I was. They were reading my stuff. They were leaving comments on my blog, and it just grew from there. And so as I was growing my nascent business at the time, because I just started a business too. So, I mean, I did everything at once, right? Yeah. Boom. It's dumb. Okay. So that's another story. We've learned a lot from that. You do one thing at a time. Yeah. But, as I started my business and that grew, my social media following grew, and I discovered Twitter, and I went into Twitter, and that's where my community really came. They were all there, and we were all interacting there constantly.
And what year is this?
This was probably 2007 at this point, right? Okay. So I'd been blogging for about 2 years by that point. And just about the time my husband also got a job, and as I felt like I was kind of moving up in the San Antonio world, we moved to Houston. Where I knew nobody except for 2 people that I was connected with on Twitter. But I used those community connections to grow what is now the social media breakfast. So I came here and I started that. So everything that I've done in my career has been fueled by community. And what I guess I've learned through all of that is this universal principle. And that is, the more that you give, the more you get in return. So the bottom line was I wasn't just taking all the time. I was out there, just gushing back into my community the most that I could, sharing everything that I learned. In fact, people would ask me, why are you sharing all of your strategies? Don't you think people will copy you and then you won't get business or customers? And I'm like, no. I said, my job is to keep moving forward and to share everything that I know as I go. So that's the way I've always been. Share everything you know as you go.
Yeah, I love it. And then people can come along the journey with you, and obviously, you're providing a lot of value there. So that's led us to today, and you've now, with all this experience that, you're not one of these newsfeed gurus who learned how to sell courses with Facebook ads, right? Like, you've been doing this work, you have the experience, you have the results, and you've put together a couple of methodologies here that we're going to talk about today that really help people hone in. So if you've been publishing videos and you're not really getting that traction that you're looking for, you're not building that community, that's what Kami is going to help us with today with her methodology that she's going to tell us about. And that's, you have 4 social secrets that you're going to lay on us, right? So walk us through what those secrets are.
Absolutely. And by the way, I've used a lot of these secrets, and they're a bit counterintuitive, just so you know. So you may be like, what? I've never heard that before. But they're a bit counterintuitive. But I've used these to help build the brands of large multinational brands. We built the nonprofit portal for Google when it launched.
Wow. I didn't know that.
We did the first social media. We did the first social media thing for SeaWorld, like the first time SeaWorld ever had a social media campaign. I did that campaign. So I've been through this. Okay. So I've struggled. Let's just say I've struggled a lot, and I've built huge, communities for brands as well as my own communities. So, this is what I've learned. So the first social secret here, I'm going to lay it on you. Okay. And it's all about strategy in some ways, but that is that, if you confuse them, you lose them. And what I mean by that is that you must have a very clear understanding about who you're talking to. And I know you've probably heard this, because if you listen to Todd at all, you know this already, because it's really, it's absolutely true. It's a principle. And yes, you can have more than one audience. There's no doubt that you can. I know that I help businesses to harness the power of social media to build their online communities, so that people take action when they ask for something. So what is a business though, right? For my brand, Zoetica Media, we work with medium to large size businesses. And for Smart Social Secrets, we work with small businesses and maybe even some nonprofits. Yeah. But when I talk to a small business owner, I'm going to be saying something different than when I talk to a nonprofit. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So I have these two audiences, but I can't talk to them the same way.
Yep.
And it does cost more money, and it takes more time and all of those things. But you have to be aware that the people that are listening to you want to be heard. They want to know that you are listening to them specifically. You want them to say, when you have your videos, oh my gosh, they're in my head. Like, I can't believe they are thinking about this, because it's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
In fact,
totally.
I just had somebody, when I was explaining this to somebody the other day, she's actually a coach for me and in my speaking career, and because I do a lot of speaking too. Mm-hmm. And I was telling her about Smart Social Secrets. She goes, oh my gosh, where were you 10 years ago when I started? This is exactly what I needed. And so I find that that's, really, that I thought that was a great testimonial, because I'm like, okay, we're on the right track here. We're talking to the right person.
Yeah. So. And you bring up a good point about like the clarifying your audience and understanding where they're coming from with their language, because even if it's the difference between, if you're talking to a business that has clients, or a business that has patients, or a business that has donors, right? Like if you're talking to nonprofits and you're saying, we can help you get more customers, like, yeah, of course they know what you mean, but it doesn't feel the same as if you're saying we're going to help you with raising your donations, or, whatever specific language. And even though it's the same thing that you're really doing, just that customized language makes it resonate and click more. And then they feel like they're connected and that you're going to do a better job for them, just because you're using the right words that match with the specific people you're talking to. And like you said, it's about, you just do one at a time. It's not one forever. It's just, you have to do one at a time. And so,
and in the course, we actually also talk about how you find that language, because you want to parrot their language exactly. Yes. So it's not language you make up. It's actually language that they've said to you, that you write down, and that you use in your marketing and also in your content, not just your marketing, but also your content. Because in the end, what is it if you're not like serving your audience and helping them move forward in what they want to accomplish?
Yeah, and I'll give real life example that happened yesterday. We're building out a content strategy for a client, and we're looking for popular questions that we need to be asking. We're going to do some video interviews and blog content and stuff. And so we crack open Quora.com for you guys. If you don't know, Quora.com.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, you search the word that you want to hit, and then people are literally, they're posting their questions there. So you can just copy and paste the questions they're asking. So as we're going through this and making a list in our document, this was for a client who's a surgeon. So the question was posed on Quora a specific way that the doctor wouldn't necessarily say. So we said, okay, here's the question. And then the conversation in the room here was like, okay, well, how should we ask that question in the interview? And I said, exactly how the patient wrote it on Quora, right? Like you want to use their language. There's, you don't want to change it because then you're totally, you're creating a dissonance there that didn't exist. So use their exact language. Quora.com, answerthepublic.com is another great source for people.
I was actually trying to find that. So Answer the Public was one I was going to talk about because you take the stuff that you learn from Quora, you put it in Answer the Public, and Answer the Public will give you different ways that people searched for things online. And there's some other stuff there's another one too, and I'm trying to remember what that one was because I was going to say Answer the Public, and there's a third one that you can also start to type. And Autocomplete,
Uber,
how you see how things...
Ubersuggest.com is one that does something similar.
That might be one of those, but the one that I have also shows you YouTube channel stuff too, so you don't have to go to YouTube and everything. So give me a second while we're talking. I'll find it, and we'll circle back. I'll give you the name of the thing.
Yeah, that's great. And then I'll pick up too is that a great analogy someone told me when I was developing one of our product lines, and it was I said I'm not sure which one to pick or prioritize, which audience we want to go after, and my coach told me, he said, look, it's one at a time. He's like, when you eat a pizza, you have as many slices as you want, but you just eat one slice at a time. And that really helped click for me, where it was like, okay, great. Like here's this, even for Zeotag, we have a dozen or so different verticals that we're going to be going after, but we have to build it out one thing at a time. And when I think about okay, well, do we do one social post for each one? And then the way I look at it is you need to build out the full customer journey for each one, because you don't want to be 10% of the way on 10 different things when you could be 100% completed on one and actually start getting that traction and have the results coming through the pipeline,
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you too, because this is one of the areas I always struggled with too. So I think everybody struggles with this a little bit, or maybe I'm wrong to say that. Maybe somebody out there, one of you is going to write in and let us know you have never struggled with this. You knew this from the very beginning.
I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah. But my point is that we all want to be able to serve the most people possible that we can. And I'm like that too. I don't want to exclude anybody. I'm sort of worried about exclusion and all of those things, but you don't really actually have to exclude them. If you build a really great funnel for one client or one type of client, you can duplicate it over and over again for every client that you can possibly ever think of. Now, remember that you're going to have to run ads to that. You're going to have to do a bunch of things to those funnels. So don't be crazy about the funnels, because you don't want to starve your children.
Right. Well, that's also the reason why I think you need to focus on complete one first, because then you can get it working. You can get your return on investment. But if you just did 25% of a bunch of them, you have a bunch of half-built bridges, as Ryan Dice likes to say, where there's you're going to burn out before you actually get any growth in your business. So complete one so that you can reinvest, and then you go to the next one so that your kids aren't starving.
And also, where's the place that they have the bridge to nowhere? There's that bridge to nowhere. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I've heard that.
Okay, there's this really interesting. So just do a little. It's in Los Angeles. You just type in bridge to nowhere in Google, and you'll get to see it's in the San Gabriel Mountains. And there was this bridge that they started to build, and they never finished.
Yeah, that's what it is. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
All right. So,
and I found the tool. Before we move on to the next secret, this is the tool. It's called Sovle, I think. Sovle. Soovle. Yeah. And what's cool about it is it auto completes for all of the search engines, including YouTube. So especially that's important for this audience, because you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that. And of course, they just became a paid tool, but I use Also keywords,
Keywords
anywhere, everywhere. I always mess up with that.
Yeah,
Keywords everywhere. And they had to become a paid tool because unfortunately bots ruined it for all of us.
I saw it. It's still super cheap. I think it was like $10 for 100,000. It's something crazy. They said basically we just have to put a $1 block on here so that the bots and scrapers or whatever stop hitting their servers, right?
Yeah. And so what I do basically is I turn it off when I'm like just like, especially if you're using something like these tools we just told you, Suvil and Core and other places, and Answer the Public, that will actually eat some of those credits up if you buy them. But they're like $10 for 10,000 credits. I just bought them yesterday. Yeah. Because I literally use this for every episode of Communities That Convert podcast for our headlines. I want to make sure our headlines are actually speaking to our audience. And so I have a headline that I think is good, and then I go out and I search my headline and I see what other headlines pop up, and then I usually change it. I have to be really honest with you.
It's true, but it's such a huge help because you put all this work into creating videos, and that's the whole premise behind Zeotag as a show and a business is you put all this work into creating the videos. You want people to find them and watch them. So instead of putting out something that no one's looking for, ahead of time, and you saved yourself, however much in time, effort, energy, money promoting that to learn it. 5 minutes and 10 cents of credits on keywords everywhere, saved you a ton of stress.
So you can see I have a whole module on this clarity piece, which is this first secret, because we could go on forever about secret number 1. It is so meaty. So
So let's move on. So secret number 2, talk to me.
All right. Secret number 2, not all social media is created equally. Ooh. And what I mean by that is people often ask me, where should I be putting my time in for social media? Like, where should I be promoting stuff? And should I have, all of my profiles built out and be full, bore on every channel? And my bottom line is no. You want to find the channels where your audience lives and speak into those channels. And so obviously YouTube is a big one of those channels, but you're going to also have to go somewhere else as well because you want to drive them. I know Twitter and YouTube work really well together, generally speaking. That tends to work really well together. But I know that Facebook right now and YouTube don't work that well together because Facebook wants you to take your videos and put them in Facebook. Right. That's really where they're at, right? Yep. So if you're on YouTube and you have video on YouTube, then you want to think about where your audience is hanging out besides YouTube. Now they may be on Facebook, and if that is the case, you may be able to run ads to them or talk to them there. Don't tell me. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you can't probably drop your YouTube links there. You probably have to drop a link to a landing page or something.
Well, right. That's what I was going to say because best case scenario if your audience is on Facebook is that you're uploading a snippet of your full-length YouTube video natively to Facebook because Facebook wants people to stay on Facebook. So best case for Facebook is that your video is actually there. They're not going to want to send people to a youtube.com link. So what I suggest is that you take your YouTube video and embed it in a blog post on your website. And then from, then on Facebook, that's the link you use is to the blog post so that Facebook doesn't, they're not kind of pushing down,
penalizing you.
Right. Exactly. So
well, and I'm going to also say the following: somebody who's done this very well in the very recent time is Donald Miller. He has a Story Brand, and he's been putting out a business tip every day, and it's led up to this launch of his business university or Business Made Simple University or something like that.
Yeah.
And
we're both huge fans of Donald, so you guys check him out at buildastorybrand.com and businessmadesimple.com. He's got a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, we love him. Anyway, so I really like him, and every day he's been putting out a YouTube video and emailing it to his fans. So email is another channel, right? So don't forget that that's part of a social media channel. I know it's not social media in and of itself, but it absolutely is an aid, and you want to be building that list. Well, anyway, he sends us a video, but we don't go to YouTube. He sends us to his landing page, and it's got a frame around the YouTube video, and you listen to the thing, and then he may have an offer there, or he may have something else like a button under it that he can send you somewhere else. I've often clicked on it and went over to YouTube and watched them there. I actually subscribed there as well.
Yeah,
but
same.
What I'm trying to say is that landing page, though, they're sharing that also on Facebook and Twitter. They're sharing the landing page.
Yeah.
And what's great about that is that you also then get the data from the people that click there.
Yep.
So if you're using Facebook or any other social media platform for that matter, the cool thing about driving them back to a website instead of to YouTube itself, because they're going to watch the YouTube video there, and you're going to get the view counts and everything there. The only thing you may not get is the subscriber unless you put the subscriber button on the page, which you can.
Yep, totally.
So I'm just saying, be creative with how you use your video. And right now, we can't just share the link, and that's what I call the lazy man's way of sharing your YouTube videos. It's just share the link.
And this is a good spot to take a little break for a sponsored message from us, Zeotag, right? So that's exactly what we do is we offer a player that you take your YouTube video and then it makes a better viewing experience for your audience on your own website. So you can embed your Zeotag with your YouTube video, and then they can easily search through the content, click to the different sections that you reference and all that kind of stuff. So we highly recommend checking out zeotag.com to get a free account and then use that for your videos to put onto your own blog. So thank you very much, sponsored message, but it aligns perfectly here.
I wasn't even trying to lead to that, but it's absolutely the greatest thing. And no, I'm so glad because, see, there you go. You're solving a problem that people have, is that we don't want to spend a bunch of time on this, and you can solve that problem for us. And I love that.
All right, so all social platforms are not created equal. And now, let me tell you, I 100% agree. You should pick one channel that your audience is on, that you should spend the most time and focus to build your muscles, and that's where you can build your community.
Absolutely.
Now, let's say that place is Twitter. So do you then leave Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn company page blank? Or
I don't.
In what case? Because I've heard a lot of people, and like if you're like a pro expert level, like time is no object social media marketer, you're creating specific content for each channel, and then those people will then kind of put their nose up when you say, oh, well, I use Twitter mainly, so then I just repost that same thing, I push it to Facebook or Instagram or whatever your first channel is. Now, I look at that and say, okay, so is it better to just be on one channel and leave the rest blank if I'm not going to post anything? Or what's your perspective on that, and what tips do you have?
Okay, so first of all, you do need to claim your channels. So that would be number one. Claim the channels with your name, because if you don't, somebody else will, and then that becomes a real headache down the line. So even like Instagram, it's hard for me to do Instagram, although I'm getting better at it just by using it regularly, and I'll get better at it over time, and I'm sure I'll adopt it, and I'll be very into it at some point, because that's kind of how I work. I warm up slowly to these things. So but even so, I've been very successful, right? So you don't have to be like there immediately. I am there now. I mean, admittedly, but I'm just saying, you've
done some good IGTV episodes in the past.
I have. I know. I loved IGTV, and then they took away certain things, and now they brought them back. So I might go back to IGTV. I don't know. But the bottom line is that you want to have your channels at least taken, and if you want to use them as a static page, like especially Facebook, if you want your Facebook page to say, here's where you can find us, here's where we interact, and like pin those messages at the top and make sure people know where you are, put a few videos in there, a couple sizzle videos about who you are that are uploaded directly to Facebook. So if people are searching for you, they at least see where you are and they know where to find you. If you're not going to put anything there, what I would not do is like just auto post from one to the other. I know you can set them up that way through different tools and stuff. Don't do it, because people just look more negatively on that than even a blank page. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's that feeling that like, oh my gosh, there's an Instagram photo on your Facebook feed and it has 50 hashtags.
Oh man, those are there's certain things like rules for the channels that you need to know and oblige by. Like that's something that drives me nuts.
So, I mean, if you're going to do that, you got to then you're going to have to do your Instagram post with no hashtags and put it in your first comment, so that the thing that goes over to Facebook is clean and just a photo with a nice caption. So you can do that. You miss out on the tags and stuff, and that's fine at first. But I would definitely look to make sure that you at least have a presence everywhere, because if you don't, people search for you where they search for you, right? So I also say that about Nextdoor. If you're like a service company, you have to be on Nextdoor. If you are, and that's not something you usually think of as a social media platform, but it is. It's absolutely. Even Google, even your Google location page
the Google My
is
Business
social media now, because you can leave you can put posts on it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah.
All right, so the platforms are not created equal. Now let's move on. What's secret number 3 here?
Secret number 3, content isn't king. Gasp!
That's a golden rule for the ages, Kami. What do you mean content isn't king? What's king?
Community is king.
All right. Now lay it on us. Why is that?
Okay. So your content is nothing without your community. That's just the bottom line. All it is like, remember when I was like back in San Antonio, like posting all this amazing content to nobody but like the barn swallow outside of my So yeah, it's not king. I mean, I think we've really believed that. And what we really need to have is strategic content that actually aligns with what our customer wants.
Yeah,
and we kind of talked about that in Secret 1 and how you find out who your customer is, where you find your voice. We gave you a lot of tips of where to go and find out what they're talking about. We also missed out on Facebook groups. There's like 5 million Facebook groups where people talk about like literally everything under the sun. So you need to be just out there researching. You have to be obsessive about who your community is and who they are and what actions you want them to take. So a lot of people talk about making SMART goals. I'm kind of turning that on its head, and we'll be talking about that a little bit in Secret 3. But you want to make goals that are action goals instead of goals that are like, like, wow, well, how many if I win? And it gets confusing. So what's not confusing is what action do you want people to take?
Right.
That's not confusing.
Yeah, and that's a great tease for when we get to number 3. Let's talk about the community as king. So I look at content as table stakes, right? And not just any content; it has to be quality content, right? Like when people have this conversation about quality versus quantity, that's apples and oranges to me, because all of your content should be of an acceptable quality for your audience, right? So don't publish anything if it's not quality. Then the volume that you are able to produce it becomes like the force multiplier, right? So table stakes is the quality content, but like you said, without anyone's attention or eyeballs on that, if no one's engaging with your content, then you're kind of screwed, right? Like what's the point of putting it out? So, hitting the publish button, that's like the start of the game. So how, once you're producing content, putting it out, how can you start to build a community around the content that you're creating?
Absolutely. Well, let me back up because there's one other step before you get there. So whenever you are building your content, you need to build it in what I call buckets. And so they're category buckets, which kind of comes from blogging. Okay. So the idea of category buckets. Yep. And the idea is that you want to find each of the pain points that your customers are having and create a bucket for that. Do not create more than 5, somewhere between 1 and 5. I have a tool for that on smartsocialsecrets.com. It's what we use for communities that convert. The first time I sat Madeline down and did this, she was like very dubious. I said, we will plan our next 6 months of content today over lunch. And she was like, okay. I said,
I remember talking to you guys at the time.
We'll take a long lunch, but 2 hours is what we needed, right? And we sat down. We have our buckets for communities that convert, and we are very specific about what we're doing. We're going to help you build your community. We're going to help you do sales and ROI. We're going to help you do all these things. So there are 5 of them. We have 5, and so come up with your 5 buckets and think about it. I mean, collapse your buckets, put them together, go out and do your research, see what people's pain points are, and then sit down and with a pad of paper, come up with your categories, and then you're going to brainstorm each of the in each of the 5 categories, somewhere between 5 and 10 ideas. I have a worksheet to do it. It's a Google sheet. I don't know if you've seen that before, but I've kind of beefed it. Oh, well, you need to get it. It's really good. So,
where can I get it while we're talking about it?
At smartsocialsecrets.com. I'm sorry, boom. That sounds really like an ad now. But no, it's free. It's not, listen, I'm one of these people that really struggles to send out emails. So I'm going to try to send you guys email on a regular basis. But please do go and get that. It's a free resource. And I've spent a lot of time. And by the way, years of really struggling to figure out what to write about and think about. To come up with this. And I use it for my clients. I use it for my $5,000 a month clients. We use it for, everybody. So, it's got the content spinner, basically a way for you to brainstorm your ideas. Then you put them into a holding pattern. And then it also has your content calendar. It has all 3 tabs. It's a Google Doc. Well, I call it Google Sheet, right?
Yeah.
So, once you go through it, and I also send you a little mini course with it, 6 emails that explain exactly how to use it, including me walking through some of it and teaching you how to use it. So take that. I hope you guys do. But the bottom line is you take that content, now that it's strategically aligned with what your customers want, and you can make videos out of it, blog posts, social media content. All of it can be spun together. It works for any industry, any place. So, I mean, you can take this and use this basically anywhere. It's very universal because it's customized, right? It's not cookie cutter. It's not a cookie cutter strategy. And then once you have that content, then you're right. That's the beginning, not the ending, right? So then you create the content for each of your ideas, and that will take longer than 2 hours. The creating part, obviously. But once you spin up all this content as you go, you're going to want to think of ways that you can use it across all of your social media channels. So I've started to actually write 5 tweets for each Communities That Convert episode when I'm writing the content outline. You know, when I'm putting the outline together. And usually I do it after we record it because we have so much more depth after we record something, which I love about your tool, by the way, because one of the cool things I'm going to like about that is if people are looking at, this is something I'm interested in, they can jump right to the thing that they're actually interested in.
Right. And for me, like one of the biggest things too is like I listen to a ton of podcasts, watch a ton of videos in the background, and like, you know, everything I do is at 2x, if not faster. Like on the computer, I'll do 4x. Yeah,
I'll try to slow down for you.
And I'm absorbing this information and I have it in my brain. But then when I want to reference back to episodes I've listened to, then that becomes like, okay, what, you know, I think it was in this episode, but like, where was it in this 25-minute thing? How do I find it and all that stuff? And then it becomes almost like, you know, this information floating in my head and floating out on the internet. And like, I know there's value here, but it's not being received and implemented. And that's where, you know, results come from.
Well, and your new tool, it actually timestamps it with like a little bit of a text from what was being said at that moment, right?
Exactly.
And you can change the text at those moments so you can make it more relevant, right?
Right, exactly.
I think that's super cool. That's really cool.
It's awesome. So once the episodes are up, like people are going to watch this episode, and once we have the player ready next week, you know, they'll be able to come back to this episode and skim through and see, secret number 3 was the one I liked when I listened to it, and click there and see it. Or, you know, you can even search to filter through the conversation to see, like, did they talk about anything for Facebook, and that'll come
Can you
up.
Just drop it like in a blog post too, like in at the end of a blog post?
Yeah, we're going to have, you could probably just copy and paste it out of the player. I'm not sure how that would work, but we're also going to have as part of one of the tiers where you can actually, you know, you can hit export and it will export all the sections into a doc, and you could put that into a blog post and all that stuff.
Oh, and I don't mean that. I mean like an embed. Can you embed it in your blog post so that people can see it? So I mean that may be cool. A cool thing we could do with Communities That Convert. We could just embed each one, and that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like the same way you embed a YouTube video in a blog post or a SoundCloud in a blog post. Zeotag will embed. You know, that'll embed in your blog post too.
Super cool.
So all right. So we have put out content.
One more secret.
Yeah, we've put out content that's aligned with our community. We're engaging with them and going out proactively to get them to see it. And now, what is that 4th secret that you're going to drop on us?
Likes and follows don't matter.
Oh, okay. So talk to me.
Okay. So likes and follows really don't matter. What matters is what actions your community takes.
Yes.
So it really is all and everything. And now I know that likes and comments do drive some of the algorithm. Okay, so people will come there, but only if people are super engaged. Yeah. So the likes themselves, actually, most of the platforms are downgrading likes overall.
Yeah.
They, in fact, Instagram has experimented with removing likes out of its algorithm, which it threw everybody into a tizzy, so they didn't do it. But
this actually brings up a good point, because it's not follower count that's driving the algorithms. It's engagement. And actually what happens is, as of today and my knowledge of how it works, is that if you have, its engagement percentage and velocity. So if you have 1,000 followers and you get 100 people engaged, that says 10% of the people like this. So then the algorithm's going to spin it and show it to more people, suggest it to new people, etc. But if you have if you buy 10,000 followers, so you can get the swipe up, which I know you're going to dive into a little bit, is, you know, Instagram, you buy 10,000 fake followers because you really want to have swipe up and you don't care that the likes are fake. But now you only have 100 real followers and only 7 people are liking a post, but you have 10,000 followers. That doesn't add up. So Instagram is saying like you're putting out crappy content because nobody who's following you seems to be liking it. So I think that engagement is really what drives, your visibility, and then social proof, and like you said, getting people to take action is really what matters. So when you're putting that out, talk to us about how these things, what should we do if we don't have a lot of likes and follows, and how can we get that initial community so that it does grow?
You are very well. That was very well said, by the way. So yeah, not only are they looking for, and when we're talking about engagement, what they're looking for is people commenting and you commenting back and them commenting back to you again, which means you have a relationship with people, right? Because if Todd comes and he comments on something of mine, I always comment back to him and I say, oh, we talk, and he may come back and say something else because we know each other. We've spent time investing into each other and each other's businesses, and we know each other. So you want to be like that with your community too. And I know that doesn't scale necessarily with thousands and thousands of followers. So what it does mean, though, is that you are sharing at such a level that people feel as if they know you. This has happened to me a lot of times. People come to me in a public place and be like, oh, Kami, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm sorry. I'm like, who are you? And I love meeting people like that. And they've listened to the podcast or whatever. And it's awesome. But you have to have that feeling. People have to have that feeling about you. Like you've just given them what they needed. And so that's how you get that following. And again, go back to my apartment, back to San Antonio, 2005 strategies that still work because they're universal principles, right? These are universal principles about how the way people work. It's about your psychology. It's about the way people's brains work. And that is, it's a reciprocity. So if you're giving them something, they're going to feel like they want to give you something back.
Yep.
So you have to go out.
Yeah, you're putting equity in the relationship, right? Like you can't draw from an empty bank account. You need to put value in so that you can take value out at some point.
Actually, I'm going to tell you something I'm going to probably be doing soon. So I told you Instagram is sort of a thing for me, right? And I need to get it built up. And I have a really good little following there, and they're all friends. And so I have a lot of really great connections there. And I think I'm a little bit under 2,000 followers. So it's not tons of followers on Instagram like it is on, I have tons of followers on Twitter. So, and that was built over many, many, many years. Okay. So remember that. But, I have been talking about smart social secrets. And so, I went and spoke about this, and I use actually an old analog, what I call a contact card. So if people want to get the Smart Social Secrets content planner, which I offered you guys today, all you have to do is go to smartsocialsecrets.com. They fill out this card for me. And in this card, I put on there Twitter/Instagram. So I've asked them for their name on Twitter and Instagram. So I am going to take these cards. I have them on my desk. There's a lot of them. And I'm going to every week take 5 of them and go out and follow them either on Twitter or Instagram, wherever they gave me their information. And I'm going to engage with them. And I'm going to say, hey, or, I'll find a piece of content they're sharing, or I'll say, hey, I'll just talk to them. I'll send them a message.
Yeah.
So, that's one way, and it's analog, right?
Right.
But guess what? People want connection.
Yeah.
People want connection. I got this book. It's a book of tweets that I wrote in 2016, so it feels like a long time ago. But one of the quotes that I had in the book was that, in social media, things change every day, all the time. But what never changes is people's desire to network.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I know why, but that particular quote got picked up and went viral. So I see that quote comes back at me like daily, practically on all platforms.
Wow.
It's got over, I think, almost 600 or 700. If you search it on Google, it's got 600 or 700 results, something like that. And so people are sharing that all the time. They don't know me at all.
Yeah.
The reason they're sharing that is because that quote encapsulates what we really are about as humans, right?
Yeah.
We want to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And people in your audience want you to see them and hear them. And if they feel like you are, they are going to have an affinity for you, and you are going to be able to build that community. So I know that's a lot to say around that, but it means, yes, you're going to have to go out and do the work. Right. You're going to have to do the work.
Yeah,
And I know, I wish it was automated too. Believe me, I want it to be automated so bad because this really overwhelms me a little bit. But, I'm like, okay, I've got 90 people that gave me their address and put their social media on here so that I could connect with them.
Right.
I owe it to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, one, depending on what stage of business someone's in that you guys are watching, but you have to start off doing things that don't scale because you need to put more equity into those relationships to build the foundation of your business. And then I actually say, now, as a business grows, you have different responsibilities and obligations, and you add value in different ways where you can't spend that time anymore. But I do think, and I do this in my businesses, I do continue to do those things that don't scale where I am DMing people, responding back to as many as I can, and emailing
sending me
people.
An email, sending me a video that's personalized to me. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. And so, being able to just do that sometimes, and then leveraging technology to kind of build a brand at a grander scale, but still doing those things so that pockets of your community know that you're engaged, and then those people become your advocates, right? And something that really stuck with me was a few weeks ago, we had the Propelify Innovation Festival, and one of our speakers was a guy, Nir Eyal. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He wrote Hooked a few years back, which is super popular, and he just came out with a book called Indistractable. And so we had done a Facebook live stream 2 months ago to promote that it was coming out, and then when the book launched, he and I were emailing about, we were going to do an email to our list. So we were already actively in conversation about promoting it. And he sends me a message on Facebook and said, like, hey, Todd, thanks for liking so-and-so's post about my book coming out. I'd really appreciate, any support or whatever, something like that. And so I replied back and I was like, hey, man, like, I love the fact that you're sending these messages. I'm assuming it's either automated or a virtual assistant doing it, because you wouldn't have sent me that specific message, right? And he replied back in 1 second and was like, hey, Todd, yeah, no, it is me. He's like, sorry, I'm doing a lot of copying and pasting. I mean, he must have messaged thousands of people one-on-one on Facebook. And what he was doing was he looked at people who shared, I don't know if it was like a link to his Amazon thing or just people talking about his book launching. And he looked at everyone who liked other people's posts about the book and was sending them DMs. And this is a New York Times bestselling author, he's not like a new young guy, and this guy's putting in that level of work. Plus, he's doing all the podcast
and never get
circuits
too
and all
big
that.
for your britches.
Right.
That's what my mom always said. Never get don't get too big for your britches.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. And so,
remember who puts you where you are. Who puts you where you are.
Yeah. And if you guys look up Indistractable, look up Nir Eyal, and you'll see he's in, New York Times, Washington Post. He's all over TV. Like the guy is a, national, international, author, celebrity type of person. And yet he's still doing those things as best he can. So, don't forget to do those things that don't scale, because they make a huge difference. And then we're talking about it. And, it drives people's conversations around that, like, oh yeah, I got to talk to that guy, and like, can you believe that? So people
love that. I mean, when a celebrity reaches out on Twitter and actually talks to you or whatever, that really does make a huge impact. And you can do it in groups too. Like, so you can also make yourself available to like group calls and group live streams on, especially on YouTube. I mean, YouTube has a great live stream feature. I know a lot of creators are doing live Q&As, on a regular basis with their community. So you can build community on YouTube that way. So I think it's really powerful. And I think we just really have to remember, as busy as we get, because I'm busy too, so busy, and I've had a lot of success, and my time is worth whatever. But I remember one big influencer one time, had announced what his time was worth per hour and how people need to stop trying to pick his brain or something. And I just was offended by that, because it's like all these people put you at that level, like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be worth $400 an hour or whatever it was. It's like you are worth that because the people put you in that position. And not that you should sit down with everybody and have coffee, because we definitely don't have time for that. But, a little gesture or a message or, making yourself available on a regular basis for Q&A or whatever it is that works for you. And if you want to use your VA, one good way to do that is to have them come up with a list of places where you can engage, and then you go and engage. So they give you, they put it in your calendar for you and say, go here, here, and here, and here. So that they can be monitoring for you and say, oh my gosh, this was so cool. You should go talk to these people.
Yeah.
And that would be, and you'd want to know about that too. So it's a great way to use a VA as you get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, totally. All right, this has been awesome, Kami. Real quick, can you just recap the 4 secrets so we have them in a concise little list for our memory?
Yes, I would love to. So secret number 1, if you confuse them, you lose them. That's number 1. Secret number 2, not all social media platforms are created equal. Secret number 3, content isn't king, community is. And secret number 4, likes and follows don't matter. What actions that people take in your community do. And those are the 4 secrets.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody head over to smartsocialsecrets.com to get Kami's content strategy freebie. I know I'll be using it and planning out our future episodes using it as well. I also highly recommend you go check her out with our other friend Madeline Sklar at communitiesthatconvert.com. They have a weekly podcast about building your community. I never miss an episode. I suggest you don't either. So make sure you check her out at smartsocialsecrets.com, communitiesthatconvert.com, and we will see you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. And please, if you do sign up, remember the emails are coming directly from me. So just hit reply and I will reply. And it will be me. It will be me.
I love it. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Take care.